Hey, welcome back. This is SirLucien from SirLucien Gaming, and we finally had another expedition in Seeking Revonar. So this video that's about to come up is us playing that game where we've transitioned from the West Marches style game and we've kind of moved it over to a regular campaign. So we have this wonderful world that we're going to have this party explore through. We have a new player joining us and we're going to jump right into the action as we start out. So I hope you enjoy this. At the end, go ahead and hit that like button. Go ahead and check me out on Twitter at SirLucien Gaming, all one word, Lucien. I know a few people spell it a different way, but hopefully I get to hear you. Tell me what you think of the session. We'll see you later.
It's so much bigger than ours.
You gonna start this out with the ship rolling in to a burning wreckage?
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. All right, so let's zoom this down a little bit, make that better. Perfect. Okay. So yeah, where we were left off. So the pool sees land. You're about a couple hours out, and it gets dark by the time you're coming in. And the pool is just pulling in as the night sky lights up with, it's almost like turns it to day as a jet of flame bursts into the town, and you hear the large, leathery, flapping wings of an enormous dragon streak over. On the ship, you notice everything goes pandemonium. Everything starts panicking. They've just dropped the sails and they were kind of sailing into this cove, heading towards the docks as the first part of the town is lit on fire. And you see, it's just like you see it for a moment when the fire is going, you can see the dragon clearly. And then as the fire cuts off and it shoots up into the sky, it's like goes up into the darkness and you don't see it anymore. And then you hear screaming and shouting and all kinds of noise from the town as you get your kind of your first look at Port Bastion as you're pulling in. You can see that there's a couple of docks that are set up. There's a couple of ships that are already anchored but off to the side as your ship was kind of moving in slowly. And now there's a bunch of activity up on deck. You were probably getting your stuff ready gear-wise, though I doubt you probably wore all your armor for the voyage. So at this point, I would imagine, Tom, that Tristan would have all his gear next to him that you're about to, you had planned just to take into town here. So as you see this begin to happen, is there anything you want to do before I move on?
Let's see. So there's a slight chance of having to swim for it, huh? So I'm just going to put the chainmail shirt in the backpack instead of putting it on, use the sword and shield, and have all my stuff ready so if we sink, I don't drown.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I just wanted to give you a chance just in case. All right, so as that's happening inside of the tavern, many of our other adventuring crew have all been sitting at the bar. Most of you are back from expedition. When you basically what happens is you probably see it lights up pretty bright through some of the clouded windows that they have, and most of the windows they have in the lovely coin are more of like a stained glass. So it's not necessarily like the type of glass you can see out of. It's more like just colored glass that Rula has purchased and has there to let some light in, but not necessarily meant to see through kind of thing. And so you see it kind of brightens up out there, and then you start hearing the echoes of the screams and the whoosh and the rafters shake as if a big wind coming off the sea has just kind of went right over town, as if it's just like a 30, 40, 50 mile an hour wind. Dust comes creaking down. You can hear all the tenders or the wooden spars and all of the stuff just kind of just makes this creaking, groaning noise, and then it kind of sets itself. And you hear more screaming and more screaming. And even as you are kind of leaping up and people are starting to kind of move to the door to see what's going on, the next big swoosh of flame comes burning out and it hits another area. And it seems to hover for a moment over some part of Port Bastion, and a couple of you who kind of make it out the door, you push your way through all the other people that are trying to pile out. Some people are trying to get in as if they're trying to get away from something, and you kind of push your way past. Just a couple of you. You see what looks to be like the dragon, the red dragon that has been sighted and has been seen a few times before this, hovering and just laying on a full flame onto what you know to be the Temple of Helm, and just laying it to the point where the stones have melted, everything has crashed in, and then it takes off again. And as it curls back around, most of you are being jostled standing in the doorway of the lovely coin, and you notice it curves up into the sky, and then as it comes down, it's a huge line. And each of you that are kind of standing in the doorway, go ahead and make a dex saving throw to dive back in to try to avoid the fire, or if you're going to try to dive outside, let's see if you take any damage. Ooh, all good rolls. I like it. Let's transition to our battle map a second. There we go. Perfect. All right, 19s, 21s, and 19s, all good. So diving back in, at the last minute, there's somebody else that's behind you. One of the other adventurers slams the door shut. There's still people on the outside. People you know are on the outside when the flame bursts through building, then hits the lovely coin, burns through the building, and Tristan's character, Dom's character, you see it begin to start to rise, and it notices your ship, and it just leaves off a little bit, and it lights all the sails up top on fire as it then streaks back up into the sky, as if it's going to make another pass on the ships that are in the harbor. So the flames are now ignited above Tristan, Rock, Eingar, and Alberix. You've dove back into the lovely coin, but the lovely coin is clearly on fire, and it's like it's been cut in half by almost like a welding torch has just burst through and is on fire, flames and everything, panic, pandemonium all around you. What does everybody want to do?
I am going to look to the Temple of Helm, because that's where the tiny Furbolg baby is.
Well, you dove back into the lovely coin. It burns a big streak of fire through it, and you're like on one side of the lovely coin. You're on the side that has the stairs that go up. There are some windows, but where the door was is just like a column of flame now.
Oh, all right. That makes a lot of sense. I will try to... Can I make it out one of the windows where the fire is not?
Yeah, you just make a run and dive through. It'd be something where you can just like dive through, break it as you go, and then you're out.
Yeah.
All right, so we see Alberich start sprinting. He dives through using his forearm and his forearm armor to break through the glass. He kind of does a roll on the outside, and then as you get out there, like there's a person who just staggers by you completely on fire and is just like, you know, kind of, you're not even sure what language they're speaking. They're speaking something, and then they just kind of collapse in front of you. And as you look over your shoulder, as you're rolling back up, you can see that the lovely coin is just really starting to flame up, and all the buildings that are along it in this big, long, stretched line. And you, as you look towards the north, it would be the northeast corner of Port Bastion, where normally you would see the big spire of the church. You don't see it there at all. You just see billowing smoke, and so you start to race that way.
Yeah, I'm pulling his red scarf around his neck up over his nose and mouth. Just gonna start hot-footing it over that way.
All right, yeah, and you're bumping into people that are running to and fro. I mean, like, everybody's running in all directions. Nobody's running in any normal direction. You can't tell what's going on. You hear shouting, but it's just too much going on to even understand. You hear the crackling of the fire and the falling of timber and stone and the melting of all that stuff, and just screams and people in panic as you make your way through this crowded town towards that stair. So what about Eingar and Rock in the lovely coin?
I'm gonna try and get back to my room and get my regular adventuring gear. And then if I've got a window in there, I'm gonna go out the window. I may drop down a floor, but I'm okay.
Okay. Yeah. So you're on the side that does the stairs that does go up, and as you go up, you can feel the heat, and there's like a rafter slams down over the bar. You can see the table's been turned over. You can tell that there are people that have died from already being crushed. There's some people that are putting fires out. There's some people trying to find an exit at the same time. A couple are following you up kind of the stairs behind you. And it's the different adventurers that you've seen that kind of frequent this area. As you kind of race your way up, you get back to your room, all your gear is there, you're grabbing it. And yeah, each of the rooms upstairs have a window that's up in the second story. So you just push open your window and then jump out.
Smash it out with my hammer and grab my stuff and jump.
Yeah, so go ahead and do an athletics check or an acrobatics check, whichever one works for you. Oh yeah. So no problem. You kind of throw your gear down, and then you kind of heave yourself out, and you kind of land, and then you do a little stutter step, but you grab your stuff, and you're out on the outside of the lovely coin. So we'll pick you up in there in a second. Rock, what are you doing inside?
If Albirix is gone and the rest of his companions have pretty much fled, he's going to concentrate on finding Rula and saving.
Yeah. So you kind of look towards the bar, and you do notice that one of the I'm trying to think of what the name of it would be. Pelennor probably knows. The rafter, the joists, maybe one of the joists of one of the main big thick wooden joists of the roof has caved in and fallen on the bar. So you kind of move over there. It's half on fire, and you see Rula on the other side of that. But as you get over to try to help out, you just see her just push this enormously heavy joist off and slam it over next to the bar. And then you see her grab her weapon that's been stored up on the wall, that has been her weapon. And she starts yelling to get people out. And she's like moving stuff to help people that are trapped under tables and breaking, chairs and moving them out of the way. And as she sees you, the fire has gotten so bad that the stairs are now cut off. There's not a lot of room. You guys are being pushed back up against where the bar area is, and it's on fire. And she looks to you and kind of throws this axe to you, that just has a subtle thrum to it. And she points to the wall and just says, "Cut through the wall." And then she turns back and she's like pulling flaming tables off of people and starts dragging them over to where you are.
I'll enter a rage state and start cutting into that wall.
Yeah, so go ahead and do let's do for this one would probably just be a strength check, but you get advantage with raging for this. So go. Yeah, 18. So you hit it, and you notice that this axe that she's thrown to you bites deep in, and it's almost like it slices down one side. You pull it back, you slice down another side, and easily you can just kick the rest of it out, and it just bursts open as you kind of create an airway. And when you do it, all the air kind of rushes in, and then all of a sudden the smoke starts billowing out. But you see her, she's dragging 2 or 3 people with her as she grabs people, and then she kind of like almost kind of throws them to you like they're a sack of potatoes. And then she's like grabbing 1 or 2 other people, and then she kind of shakes her head as if she can't go any longer. And then she drags like 1 or 2 more people out, and she comes out. And after that, the whole lovely coin just collapses in behind her, and you're kind of standing out there. And Eingar, you see like the wall burst open. You're not sure what has done it. And then you see kind of like the green foot of Rock the orc that you've known before just smash open the sidewall, and he's just kind of moving people out.
I drag people away from the building as best I can to a safer.
All right. So yeah, you guys are dragging some people out, and these are a lot of these people are some of the servers and some of the people that you noticed working in there. You know, as this thing collapses, there were a lot more people still left in there, and you're not sure if they're getting out or not. And you start hearing some voices shouting, and then some people start showing up, and they've got buckets of water, and they start trying to throw water on the lovely coin. And there's other bucket lines going to other buildings and trying to put those out. As you're doing that, you hear the flap of the leather wings as another. It sounds like the dragon has returned for another pass. Now, Tristan, you see the ship is slowly pulling in. The captain's yelling at you to get into the small boat, which they're starting to lower on like these blocks and tackles over the side, as if they're going to use that to get a little bit further to the dock. You're probably only maybe 50 yards out from where the dock is, but the ship is just completely stopped. All of the sails are on fire. Part of the spars are starting to fall on the deck as stuff starts to come down. And you see the dragon heading back towards, as you're getting towards the small. Now, do you go to the small boat or do you do something else?
So I'm not sure there's enough time, but if there's enough time to grab a wool blanket or anything that looks like a blanket, dump it into one of the water buckets, and then throw that over us on the boat.
Yeah.
So it's at least something of a cover.
Yeah. Yep. You grab something as you go, and there's definitely several water casks that stay up on deck at all times. It's easy, and it's fresh water. You're able just to dunk it in. It's nice and soaked, cold water, and you take it. You get you and your gear, and you're in the boat, and it's starting to lower on the tack. And it's got probably half of the crew is in the boat. Captain's up on the top doing the tack themselves. There's maybe one or two people left up there finishing to make sure the boat gets down. You can tell they're going to jump over. And as you're watching, you see this dragon, just because now the night sky is lit up with all the fires coming from this town that you just barely have seen. And it lights two more ships that are anchored in the port on fire. And as it starts to sail back over the town, you see an arc of like blue-ish, lightish lightning hit the wing of this thing, and it lets out this huge roar that rattles everybody's teeth, and it shakes the town as this thing roars in pain as a bolt of some type of blue energy rips through the I forget what I said. I think it was like the left wing or the right wing. I don't remember. One of the wings, and it kind of hovers for a moment, and then it decides it kind of flames at wherever that blue light had just come from, and then it takes off, and you can tell that it's starting to head south, away from the town at that point. And it doesn't seem to be able to fly very well. It's not able to gain a lot of altitude, and whatever hit its wing has definitely wounded it severely. From those of you that are in town, you see the dragon at one point streaking back in. It drops below what you can see as far as over the walls and the other buildings that are around you, but you hear the whoosh of the flame as it's hitting something in the harbor. And then as it comes over, you can see this blue streak of light energy hit it as it's just hovering right over the top of you. It doesn't see you, and it's looking into more of the central area, which is kind of where the marketplace area is of Port Bastion. It gets hit, it lets out a roar, it lets out a jet of flame at whatever was in that direction, and then it starts to head, it kind of peels off and starts to head south, away from Port Bastion. What do you now let's go back over to Albrecht. So you've made your way to where the temple is, and the temple is basically a mound of melted stone at this point. Like, the flame it must have been a direct flame, and not like just a little bit of a, like, kind of where it goes through and does like a strafing run. This was like a direct blowtorch on this stuff, and the stone has melted like water around most of the area, and it's just collapsed in on itself. You don't see anything around the area when you first get there.
I just kind of taken aback for a moment, like all that's happening, and then gonna try to get my wits about me and circle about it and see if there's any survivors or anybody that may have gotten out of this thing.
Yeah, and you see a figure that is kind of black cloaked over, kind of comes out of the billowing smoke from kind of a side area where the church is or used to be, and carrying is a bundle. And you kind of just, for whatever reason, it's just like you immediately know. It's just like you are positive that's that's the thing you're looking for. Somebody carrying a bundle that's exactly that size.
I'm gonna go to him and try to assist him and get him out of the, get him. I don't even really know. Like, does anything look safe at this point?
No, it's like it did a big cross through Port Bastion. It's like there's just like these big lines of fires through the buildings, and if things keep going, the whole town is going to burn down. They're trying to fight it, and you're starting to see people who are starting to fight it. If they can contain it, maybe buildings are going to be saved, but if we don't contain it, this whole town's going down.
Look to first rush to them and make sure that they're unhurt. Is that the case?
Yeah, so when you rush up, they're kind of coughing a little bit, and you get up there and you see the bundle. It's little Timor, all bundled up, wrapped up, looks fine, and the person kind of stumbles, and you kind of grab instinctively Timor. So you have Timor, baby Timor, now in your hands. And as you're looking at Timor, making sure everything's fine, you're like checking, you see breathing, the baby's not even crying. It just looks up at you with these very bright eyes as it's looking at you. You hear this voice in your ear for just a moment, and it's a voice you recognize. It's a voice that was the voice that had you sign the contract. And it says, "Do not forget our deal. I'm not going to keep saving this soul for you." And when you turn to look, that person's gone. It's nowhere in sight.
Deep breath. Start trucking. I'm going to leave them to fight in this fire on their own. I'm getting Timor to safety.
Okay.
So I'm going to run. So where I understand that there's a big X of fire. Like, where am I on that X? Am I to the north side of the X, the west side of the X? Like,
Yeah.
and where's the,
so if you open up
lovely
your handout for Port Bastion, does everybody have that in handouts? Yeah. All right. So the north quarter, and the biggest building in there to the north is, and it has a little courtyard next to it, is where kind of the church area was. And that's kind of where you're at now. So you are, if you go back down the road and hang a left, you're heading to the northeast gate. If you follow that road and go right, you would be heading back towards the market area, which is the big market center area. So you're kind of in the courtyard outside of the heap of the church. The lovely coin, when you're looking at that map, is, so you have the two docks that are to the east, and you have the two docks that are to the west. To the east, there's a big building right on the dock. That's a warehouse. Then there's two smaller buildings. One of those, the one that's towards the market area, was the lovely coin. That has been burned. So there's like a whole streak of buildings that go from near that gate down towards the marketplace that's on fire. And then there's an area that goes from the north west corner down towards the market area that's been on fire too. So think of it as, an X over the top of that.
All right. So my first instinct is to really just rush and get out of the walls of this inferno, but it's not long before I realize that my friends are the best chance to save Timor as well. So I'm going to head back in the direction, and I'm going to be as roundabout as I can to avoid, the majority of the fire, to try to get back to where they're at.
Cool. All right, so you start heading back towards the marketplace.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. So Rock and Eingar, you were with Rula at this point. You are near the marketplace, and the marketplace had all around it are the closed up stalls that usually the farmers leave there. They bring their stuff in the morning and then they keep it open all day and then they close it down and they go back home. Most of the farming community lives on the outside of the walls, so they usually come in the morning. So what you see is a bunch of like closed down market shops and stuff. The blue energy that you saw came from the west side of town. So west of where you guys are, across the marketplace somewhere. You don't quite see what did it, but it's something on the other side of the market. And then not too long after you're helping people out, there's a bucket brigade that's taking water from the port there and up to where the lovely coin is. The flame stops at the lovely coin and goes to the northeast. So it's like a big line from the lovely coin all the way to the wall on the northeast. And there's several bucket lines that are trying to put out those several buildings so that they don't catch the other buildings around them on fire. What do you guys do?
I'm going to hand Rilla her axe back and grab big buckets and help out with that since I'm relatively strong.
Okay.
Eingar's going to help with the bucket brigade, and if he sees a building that is basically burning and could possibly, or maybe is almost out, if he needs to chop down a section of wall or something that might fall on a non-burnt building, he's going to do that and try and chop into it so it'll go into its own building.
Yeah, let's do this. Let me bring in a map. Why don't we do this instead of me describing everything?
Did that lightning come from the ground up, or was it?
Yeah, it streaked from the ground and went up and hit the dragon. Okay, so I assume you guys can see the map at the moment. My freehand draw, and let's put some red here. So currently there was a burst of fire that went like this. And so all of these kind of buildings right here are the ones that are on fire. And I'll just kind of a little bit like this. So those are the ones that are on fire from that side. Out in the harbor, there's a set of couple of ships that are on fire. I'll just put some poorly drawn triangles out here. There's a few that have not been touched yet, but there's a couple on fire out in the harbor. And then the other streak came through and lit up this area. So this is all kind of on fire now. And then the other area that's been really hit is this. This was a big set of fire. And there is now a big raging fire like in this area here. So those are the four main areas that got hit. There was 2 strafing runs, and there was 2 like where it hovered, and it just spit fire for like, it felt like minutes, but really it was only seconds. But it just stayed and concentrated on those 2 big splotches, and then it did strafing runs on those long areas, and that's what's on fire currently.
Well, one of those is the Temple of Helm. What's the other one?
You know it as over near where the shops were. Let's see, who was all over there?
Is it the magic shop?
The magic shop's over there. It was also, there was the herbalist was over in that area. There was an equipment dealer that was over in that area. It was definitely a marketplace that serviced a lot of the adventurers in this area. The bucket brigade is happening right now that you guys can see, like this is the one you see. And there's also a well and fountain area here. And there's a bucket brigade that's trying to put that out, but that's like almost like a lost cause at this point. Okay.
I imagine that we are gonna, since right here was the lovely coin, right?
Yeah, let me draw. I'll use yellow
I
here for a
imagine
second.
we will know a lot of the people or a lot of the shops that are right around here. So
Yeah.
and then working out from there.
Yep. Okay. So you guys join the bucket brigade and you start and you're trying to get people out of some of these buildings that are on fire. You're trying to contain that fire. Albrix, you have to kind of dash your way past this blaze that is happening. Let's go back to our ping here. Happening right about here. You make your way through that, and then you get to the marketplace courtyard, and you just see lots of people trying to put out the different flames. They've got another bucket set that's also heading up. Oh, I want this freehand here, and they're helping here. And there's a line that's going up, and they're trying to start fighting here, and they're trying to work their way this way.
Are there like wounded?
All over, everywhere.
All right. Not really willing to put Timur down. I'm gonna first, as I step out into this marketplace, I'm gonna look up to the skies again to see if I see the shape of the dragon again.
Okay. You don't go ahead and you don't see anything. You see billowing black smoke streaking up. You see the sky seems to be lit, and up above you do see whitish clouds that are being lit up now from all the fire raging in the town. Go ahead and do a perception check for me, though. All right. You definitely don't hear the flapping of the wings anymore. So if it's anywhere around, it's far enough out that you're not hearing it. And you could hear it as it was attacking the town. You could hear the leathery wings the entire time. So wherever it is at the moment, it's far enough off that you can't hear it.
Okay. So with that, Albirix will, with one hand free, kind of shucking the baby into a cradle like a football carry, use his other hand to I'm going to intone some words of power and start knotting his fingers up into arcane sigils, and with the last breath of the spell, a cloud of glowing gnats form into come forth from his nose and mouth, and then sweep out as I cast Healing Spirit. And I'm going to go about trying to do what I can to ease the suffering for the dying and try to save some folks.
All right. And where do you want it, in the market area that you're doing it? Or are you doing it on that main road? Where are you doing it?
So I imagine that I pretty much came over here, so I'm a bit a ways away from where the fire is there. And there can you describe to me what this area looks like right on this side? It's basically, I'm going to use it over here.
Yeah. So what you see are like a bunch of these.
I came back to see where my friends were, and
yeah, like this whole area is filled with merchant stalls, but it's usually like the grocery market kind of stuff, the farmers market stuff. So they're all covered with blankets or tarps at the moment. They're all kind of closed down for the night, but there's just bunches of them in here that usually have this big wide open agricultural market where all the farmers from outside of town come in and sell their wares. So you can kind of see from standing in that cross section that you're at, you see a bunch of closed down stalls and people running here and there. Some people are running to south. Some people are running up. You start to see the bucket brigade happening. That's about as much as you probably see in that area.
All right. Wherever I see a pile of wounded people, I suppose, the people that have been drug out of since I spent a lot of my time at the lovely coin, I'm going to cast it over here and try to help those that have been drug out of the wreckage.
Okay, so I'll put it like right here, and then you're kind
That'll
of
work.
you're telling people, hey, and they know that if they can get near there, it can help with some of their wounds, and people are kind of congregating around it that are of the wounded. And you're starting to set up, like people that can't move or can't help out are kind of gathering in this general area, and maybe they've even cleared out some of those carts. They've kind of just pushed this stuff out of the way.
Yeah. And I'll use my, every 6 seconds or so I'll the cloud of glowing insects will like just push along the edge of the crowd and stuff, and I'll try to heal people.
If I could just get that thing.
And then the other thing I would like to do, and I don't know, this is a long shot. What would Ice Knife do?
Not much to a fire.
I thought so.
Yeah. I mean, you could attempt it, but you would notice that it doesn't put out these blazes. And this is like dragon fire, napalm-ish kind of fire. They're even having trouble with the water buckets to put it out. More, what they're starting to do is make sure that the structures that are on either side are wet and soaked more than they are able just to throw water on this flame. Whatever's already on fire is kind of staying on fire.
Okay. So that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to spend my time keeping Baby Timur safe and trying to heal folks and give them some comfort.
All right, so I'm going to reset my thing a second here. So let's jump back to, exit a moment. Let's jump back to Tristan. You're in the boat. It's been lowered. They're rowing towards the dock. Were you able to see the handout that I was mentioning? Do you see that on the right-hand side where it says handouts?
One sec.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I looked at those.
Yeah, and so down at the bottom is the one of Port Bastion. So you're coming in on the easternmost docks as you get pulled in. And so the boat kind of just hurries itself up to the dock, and then you just see a lot of people and a lot of activity of lots of bucket brigade stuff happening as you come out. I will say, let me draw you a spot. We'll just use, I guess, a purple. So you are right about there. So a little purple spot. When you throw your gear up over the dock, you kind of climb up a ladder that's on the side there, because normally you can tell these docks are high enough that they accommodate the ships, not necessarily the rowboat that you're in. And you throw your stuff up, everybody else is getting up and out, and you're kind of standing there on the dock. What do you want to do?
Scrabble up onto the dock or the wharf, and then wherever it seems like the most chaos is, go there and help.
All right. Yeah, so you see... let me grab one spot. So you see two bucket brigade lines forming that are working right now. So one to your left and one to your right. And then as far as that, it looks like all these people that are on the docks are trying to help get buckets of water at this point. You can hear more activity somewhere else in the town, though you don't really see anything at the moment where you're at.
Okay. Well, if there's any obvious set of wounded, I'll try to go help stabilize and triage some of those. I have the couple of spells, but I also have the lay on hands I can use selectively.
Right.
If there's people that are doing death saves, I can give them 1 point to keep them off that. And if there's people that look like you could save them easy enough, I can try that.
Yeah. So you move kind of around this big warehouse area that they're kind of fighting to keep from catching on fire. You move into what you can tell is like a big market area, and then you do see where wounded are starting to be kind of laid out and gathering in kind of up on the northern corner, even though they're fighting back the fire. And so you just kind of make your way there, and you start helping those that you see that are partially burned, or even third degree burns, second degree burns. You see people that are coughing from smoke inhalation. And when you're doing just like a point of help, you're doing enough to stop the bleeding. You're doing enough to stop some of the pain. It's probably not enough to completely cure them, but you're having to try to help so many different people. And it's like a lot of people. It's like hundreds of people here have definitely been injured but you're helping as you can, as you kind of throw your gear down next to you. You're just helping out the group of people that are there. You probably start to pick out. Well, give me a perception check. Let's see how observant you are as
Sure.
all this chaos is going on.
And just to make sure I understand this, for this system, it's in the chat. It's a /R, the dice size, and then any
You
modifiers.
can, or even cooler, on your character sheet where it says the skill perception, if you click the word, it will roll it for you. Yeah, perfect.
That's pretty spiff.
Yeah. So, and it puts your bonus in and everything, which is really cool. So, yeah, what you recognize is most of the people that are here, you're seeing a lot of humans, and you're seeing probably a good mixture of dwarves in this town. So you kind of get the impression as you're running around that this is a town of humans and dwarves. But automatically, I think you would pick out, you see a couple of orcs that are helping, dragging people out and moving stuff around. You see, let's do, just for fun, let's do a history check to see if you recognize one of the other type of people that are here. So give me a history check, a 9. So you see a creature that has greenish skin and pointed ears, but you're not sure you've ran into that race before. And they seem to also be healing and helping people and carrying what seems to be like a bundled up baby. And there are kids, there are, women and children and old people, young people, all have been affected by this. Most of them human, but this person definitely stands out. You're not quite sure what race they are. You do see a dwarf that's running around and helping out. Lots of different dwarves. So there's definitely a big dwarf presence in this town too, as you continue on. So as you guys go through, we don't have to go through the minute actions. You help start rallying the town. The town begins to get organized. It doesn't seem like the dragon has come back, and that allows everybody to get a better handle on the fires and get them contained. All of the buildings that were already on fire burned to the ground by morning time. And it's too hot to even go in and see if there's survivors yet or start pulling stuff apart. But you all have done a great job of anything that wasn't on fire at that point has not spread. So it stayed in these very central areas as you help the people. We go through a very long night. Everybody gets like a level of exhaustion while working just through the night, not getting a rest. But the fires are starting to get under control. The buildings have burned out that are going to burn out. And I think what we'll do is we'll kind of montage to the next day or so is really just this blur of you're trying to go through the rubble and see if there are people that were trapped or still alive over the first, like half a day or day. And then as that kind of you're sure that there's probably nobody left alive, it turns into we're clearing rubble and you're pulling out bodies so that they can be buried as they should be, and they should be honored and taken out of these areas. And already the warehouses have been opened up to allow people who have been the dispossessed at this point, that don't have homes, or their homes are set on fire, or like lots of these adventurers that were staying at this inn, or other people are staying in the warehouse. And on probably about midday, as the sun's up, it's about noon, you kind of hear like marching boots coming from the east. In the east gate, you can hear the east gate open. All the gates are pretty loud when they open, and you see a huge contingent of dwarves coming in. They're all just packed on with gear and tools and everything, and it's probably like about 60 dwarves come marching in. And a few of you would recognize these are the Dankill miners that have come from the mine and have raced back towards town, and they brought just about everybody. They've shut the mine down. You hear them start shouting orders, and they're just going around and they're helping where they can. They're already digging through wreckage. They're starting to sort out stuff and get it moved so that things can be rebuilt. They brought materials, they brought tools, they brought people to help rebuild, and it seems like as you kind of get the rumors are floating around, you hear people are talking. The Dankill brothers are both in town, and they're here to help rebuild and try to get things set aright. So the mine has been shut down for now, And we also see a lot of the farming community has come into town in the morning when the sun has finally come up, and it sounds like the danger is gone, and they have brought in food and beverages, and they're helping with the water, they're helping with bringing in wagons and work animals, and they're also bringing their tools and stuff. So the surrounding community starts to come in to help Port Bastion get secured at this point. There are breaches in 2 of the walls. Let me draw them in.
Wood palisade or stone?
No, they were stone, but it's just been melted down and crumbled over as they were hit. So there are 2 breaches in the walls, and we have a few of the town guard. We've got like 1 or 2 people standing at those. The gates have been closed for the most part. And then everybody's, trying to work and do what they can. As far as the ships that were in the port, the one you came in on, the Pool, it nearly burned down, but it didn't quite sink. Because the sails had fell over and into the water, it's the hull of it has been saved, and the agricultural and mining supplies that it was hauling have been, they've used several boats that they've tied into it, they've rowed it into, and they've kind of put it into port, and they're unloading all the materials that come from that boat. The other 2 boats that were set ablaze have sunk, and you only see parts of them sticking up in the harbor that somehow they're going to have to be cleared at some point. And during most of this, the town market area becomes kind of the central command area, and you see the Dankill brothers are they've got a table set up, and they've got the plans for the town drawn out, and they're marking things off that have been searched for bodies and stuff. They seem to be talking to a older human gentleman. Some of you would probably know him as let's see, who else would you know? Rula's helping out with them. So you see Rula's there, who's also kind of taken command, and everybody in this town seems to react favorably to Rula. Like, everybody trusts Rula. Everybody listens to her orders. Even the Dankill brothers really follow what Rula's talking about. She seems to really know what she's doing. She's a half-orc that seems to be kind of in charge for Tristan. You kind of notice it. And then it's also, I always get the name wrong, so I want to say Belshazzar is a human, kind of wizard-looking kind of guy who's also at that table and is been talking to the Dankill brothers. And I think that's where we'll pick up. There's been a day or so of you've found as many people as you can find that were alive. A lot of them, the wounded, are being healed round the clock. The tragedy so far is almost no clerics of Helm have been found. Like, the entire Helm church has just been decimated, and we've not found any of the followers of Helm throughout the town. There's been a few other healers. The apothecary made it out of his building. He's helping with regular kind of poultices and things like that. We have those of you that have magical abilities to heal have been using them as you can, and resting when you can, and using them as you can to help out those that are in need. The dwarves brought along some of their healers that they have. They have a few healers that they had at the mine have come, and they're helping out. So you guys are kind of catching your breath now. It's finally like maybe almost towards the end of the first day. So it's almost been just under 24 hours since this whole thing had started. It seems like the fires are out. As many people as you're going to find that can be saved have been found. They're still pulling the dead out of the rubble, and they're starting to put them in a certain area where they're being lined up with the white sheets over them. And there's a group is prepared to go out and start creating kind of like a big graveyard area. Port Bastion has not needed one before this, but it will certainly need something after this. And you guys are kind of in the market area as the day gets towards the evening time, and you kind of take your first breath, and you get to look around and you see each other. So Eingar, Alberix, and Rock, you have adventured together before, I believe, right? All of you have been on adventures together, so you know each other.
Yep.
You recognize that most of the adventures that you know of, you have not seen at all. Some bodies have been pulled out that you've recognized, and they have passed. Very few of the adventurers made it out of the Lovely Coin. There are still some groups that were outside of town that we haven't heard from yet, but it looks like that whole group has been pretty much decimated. And you probably do see at some point you would bump into Tristan, and you would notice. Maybe go ahead and give us a physical description of Tristan, Tom.
Sure. So, pretty much your standard human, male, chainmail, sword shield, pretty close to what you think of with a standard fighter. That's probably just a little more clean and proper. He's kind of going along the idea of being an adventuring cleric, sort of. I mean, he's a paladin, but he kind of does more of the good guy thing than I think the average paladin does. Not a goody two shoes, just kind of a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that gives
Cool.
you a lot. I'm not really.
Do they see your symbol? Like, is your
there
your
should
symbol
be
prominent?
a, if I remember correctly, Torm has a. It's not a griffin. It's a eagle or something like that, I think, for a symbol. But that should be on front and center.
Okay. Yeah, so you guys would definitely notice that there's and you maybe not know, maybe when you see him, you either think he's either a cleric or a paladin, or at least a follower of Torm. And that's not common. We have not seen a lot of, or any that you can think of when you've been here. A lot of Helm presence, but not Torm. And you've seen him as he's helping out, laying on hands, helping healing people, just like you see the green-skinned, pointy-eared gentleman kind of healing where he can and using some magics that you maybe haven't seen before. And then even the dwarf who's going around probably using your Cure Light Wounds on people to do some different things there, which is the Eingar character.
And Rock is probably stomping people out while they're on fire.
It's like the Loki bash.
Rock's doing what Rula tells him to do.
All right, yeah, and Rula has been using Rock to get people, like, keeps asking you to go tell this person to do this. Tell them that I said I want them doing this. Tell them I want those supplies over there. I don't want them here. And then make sure there's 2 guards over on that thing. So she's like almost like a commander, she just falls right into almost like a general of the area, and everybody kind of defers to her, and she keeps having Rock go to different areas to deliver different messages and different orders and tell people, I want them doing this, I want them doing that, I want them doing this. So you'll see this other big orc who's moving around. Now, are you half orc or full orc?
He's half orc.
Half orc. So 2 half orcs. Rula's also a half orc for Tristan, the character.
Okay,
so at some point, I would think, Alberix, you would definitely be bumping into Tristan a few times at some point, to the point where you're either going to say something or Tristan's going to say something to you.
So is Tristan a big dude, a little dude?
Decently good size. Not Amadon size, but maybe 3/4 of that, if you're going to do a visual. So muscular, but not a giant.
6 foot, 200 pounds type dude?
Maybe a little more, like 250, but muscular. Linebacker.
Maybe like 250.
Yeah, he's a 20 strength, so.
Holy Toledo. So what you see is a slender, tall figure that's clad in iridescent scale armor, like it was taken from a giant fish. It's with a red scarf that's drawn up around his face, and like long pointed ears, and his skin is the color of like the grayish brown mold that grows on trees in wet summers, and yellow eyes with a shock of black dark brownish hair that's woven into intricate braids that hangs out over the top in the weird top knot. And he's probably 6'2", about 50 pounds, extremely long arms and fingers. And as you guys are going about helping these people, at one point, Albirix looks at you and says, "You are new here?"
Yeah, just got off the boat, literally.
Not really knowing how to respond to that. Why have you come? Were you sent to help?
In a sense, yes. I mean, our order was made aware of this location, and we are attempting to come out and help and spread the good word of Torm across the world.
You seek to convert those who live here.
Oh, no, not conversion. More show how we can be helpful. And if people want to join up with us, they join up with us. If they don't, they don't. But, we do what needs to be done in the world to be good.
With that, as though an unseen hand is there, but he doesn't touch it, the scarf kind of loosens away from his face and is pulled down to reveal tight, drawn, taut skin up against his skull, with thin lips and needle-sharp teeth, and he's with a small nose. And he smiles and says, "If you've been sent to help, then you are already doing it. Welcome to Port Bastion, or whatever is left of it. I am Albirix, and I really don't know what I'm doing here anymore." And with that, he kind of just turns his attention to another husk of a human being with cracked skin and smoldering flesh, and gets back to work.
Okay. Well, in a moment when you have time, I'll introduce myself, and I'll just keep healing people as best I can for my limited abilities anyway.
He doesn't. So he kind of strikes you as someone who is awkward, like completely foreign to this place. He, so that, like, many of the conventions of normal civility and conversation are, he's definitely just a little awkward, like with an 8 charisma awkward.
Okay. Charisma's a dump stat.
Yeah, nice.
And from another plane awkward. So
not human for sure. All right, cool. So Eingar, you notice that the Dankill brothers are kind of working to organize things, and you see like a lot of dwarves now helping out. You're helping out where Albrix is, and you see rocks kind of all over the place running around helping Rula out. What are you up to?
Once the fires are down and either out or manageable, I will check with Rula and see if she needs help. And if she doesn't, I am going to work on a lot of these stalls out in the marketplace and try and make, if it's morning time, try and make some good shade to put the wounded under, so they're not out in the sunlight.
Yeah. So yeah, all day long they've kind of been tending to them, and people have been putting up, like you said, shade. You can help out with that, and they've even opened up some of the warehouses that are along the docks to provide bedding for people out of the way. You notice it's in the they seem to be moving those that have perished. They're kind of lining them up over towards the west gate on this map, as if they're going to go out the west gate at some point to deal with the number of bodies that they have. And as you're looking at it, the bodies continue to show up, and the numbers are staggering. Like if Port Bastion has probably been cut in half by about 50% of the population that lived in this town has not made it through the night. Like, you've saved many, but many have died in this tragedy. While you're over near where Rula is, and this is towards, again, the evening time, Rock, you're probably just coming back from being sent to check on the gate, or the couple of guards that are standing out near the wall breaches. When you see Belshazzar has walked up and starts talking to Rula, you're in earshot. This is the same time Eingar is there. Alberix and Tristan, you're maybe just out of earshot, but maybe just close enough that you can see a gathering of people, and the Dankill brothers are there at the same time. And Belshazzar is saying, as you walk up, Eingar, to Rula, that the ward is down. We need to send somebody to check on the totem and get it back up, or anything can find Port Bastion. And you hear this as you're walking up to the table.
What is this ward you speak of?
Alberix, you go ahead and give me a perception check to see. You hear them talking, but I don't know if you catch what they're saying. They're a little bit further away from you. Nah, 19's pretty good. So you hear it, but you're going to have to go over if you're going to engage with it. And Tristan, you can do the same thing. You can do a perception check to see if you overhear what's being said.
Rock will just say,
oh, yeah. So you hear it too. If you want to get into the conversation, you'll have to move over that way. You see the person that's addressed you and welcomed you to Port Bastion kind of begin to get up and move over. Rock and Eingar, you hear it. You don't have to roll. You hear it as she's saying it. And Belshazzar is talking to Rula when he says it.
I'd like to ask, what skills do you need to check on this, or to do what you need done?
So yeah, he looks over at you, and have you bought any of the magic items from his shop before, Eingar? Do you buy potions or something?
I bought healing potions.
Okay, so yeah, he's like, good sir, Eingar, good, you're here, you made it through the night. To your question, there is and not many people know this, and he kind of looks around as he's kind of looking at who is around at the moment. There is a totem that had a powerful magic placed upon it that has protected this town for many, many years. It's the thing that has kept the dragon from noticing that we are here. Something must have happened to it for that dragon to have attacked this town. There's no other way it would have known we were here.
Where is it? What do we need?
The totem is north of town, should be in the open fields, but I had put a glamour on it to make it so that nobody could see it normally, to affect it or deal with it or try to tamper with it. But if you go north of town, see if you can find the totem. I believe that the ritual I cast on it is now done, has fallen off of it. I could feel that magic fade as that spell is no longer enacted. Something has happened to the totem.
Rock will just pick his axe up and start walking.
Eingar's with Rock.
Am I still carrying this baby around?
Damn baby. Just nothing but a burden.
No, at this point, Rula has helped find some of the farmer that have come in, and they're taking care of any of those that have lost family members, or the younger children that haven't found their parents yet. There's like a group of those that are being taken care of in the warehouse here, and it's a group of the farmer families that are tending to them. So you right now, Timor could be with that group.
Make sure you get a ticket for him. Like a coat
Yeah.
check.
Check the baby.
That's a solid idea. I am.
Baby check.
I'm gonna give him one of those like eyeball things, like, hey, space elf here.
Did Scout die?
Yeah.
Killing Scout? All right.
Yeah.
Killian died.
Killian died.
Oh, Killian had a good death.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't see that. That would have made things even extra worse.
Now, as Rock and Eingar then decide that they kind of start moving to one of the gates to go out to the north side of town, I would say Tristan and Alberix, who were moving kind of in that direction, notice that Belshazzar kind of wavers a little bit and then kind of goes to a knee as if he's trying to catch his breath a moment, and then he kind of lifts himself back up. You can tell the exhaustion levels on him are significant.
Then offer to give him a hand then.
Yeah, so you kind of help him up, and he kind of gives you a look of thank you, and he kind of catches his breath, and then he kind of keeps talking with Rula as Eingar and Rock head off. So, Albrix, are you staying with Belshazzar, or are you heading out with Eingar and Rock?
As Tristan helps the mage, Alberix looks over to his friends that are moving on. That sword, I take it you know how to use such a thing.
I assume you're talking to me, so yes, I do know how to use that thing. I'm better with the shield part of it, though.
We'll have need of your shield then. I'm Alberix, like I said before. Come with us. Totally weird and awkward.
Yeah, that seems fine to me. I was going to ask if it seemed like 3 people is enough to go do the mission anyway. So, just see if I go along. But yeah, if you guys will have me, I'll come along. More than happy to help.
Rock's a bit impulsive and not exactly the most intelligent guy.
All right. So let's do
see
our
Eingar
first.
take-
We'll probably just do for tonight because we blew through when I was going to do the other break. So let's do a 10-minute break for now. Everybody can get their drinks, use the restrooms, do whatever you got to do. We'll come back. My clock says 10:08, so we'll come back at 10:20 on my clock, or 20 on whatever clock you have, and then we'll pick up as we head over to north of town to see what's going on there, and we'll finish out tonight's adventure and see where we're at. So everybody's doing an awesome job. I'm having a lot of fun. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. I'm going to hit the break window now. jumping back in. So just as probably the last person in line would be Albrecht's, as you're catching up to Eingar and Rock, who have already kind of maybe a little ways down that road heading towards the gate. Belshazzar hands you what looks to be like a white roundish stone, and there's like carved into it a couple of runes, and he says, when you get there, let me know what you find. And he hands you the stone as if you know what to do with it.
I don't know what to do with this.
Okay. He looks at you and he's like, sending stones? You speak into it, and then we can send messages back and forth?
Oh yeah. I thought you were talking about something different. I know what you're
Okay. And then he lets you go off. As you kind of run up and catch, and Tristan kind of just follows you as you're the only one he kind of knows at the moment. And you catch up, and you guys are heading out the gate. They open up the gates. They've been keeping them mostly closed. As you go out I guess we'll go to the battle map just so people can see here a second. So as you go out the north east gate, they open it up and then they close it right behind you, and you can see where the breach is, and there's a couple of the town guard that are standing there at the breach to kind of guard it. And you guys kind of head up, kind of just, you're on the outside. You know you're supposed to go north, but this is kind of just open fields around you at the moment.
Look to Eingar. Can you lead us?
I will lead. I'll use my ranger skills and head north.
Okay.
Through the fields and see what we can find.
Yeah, so you're kind of heading north, and what you do know is the road that leads to the northeast, that heads out to the farms, and you can even see the start of where a lot of the farms are, but it definitely heads out northeast, and you're on the coast, and then it moves up along the coast. North of town, there's quite a bit of open area before you can see the forest off in the distance. So the forest is probably about a half a mile away. And most of this land has been cleared land. There's also, if you go far enough north, you know there's a rock quarry that's been dug out because there's some cliffs to the north that kind of, as there's like an elevation rise north of town, and they've been digging into the side of that where they've been getting a lot of the stone that they've been using to build a few of the stone structures that are in Port Bastion. So there, there's a quarry further north before you hit the big forest that then is all north of you, and to the west of you is all like forested land. Now, as Tristan, you're looking at this, you can see that these walls are, I want to say these are stone walls at this point. When we started the campaign, we had no walls, but these are stone walls. The gate looks pretty strong as they open and close it. It looks like it's in pretty good working order, though you can see the big breaches, or at least the one breach in the wall now, where it's going to take some time to recover on that. And you get your kind of first lay of the land, and you feel, maybe just for a moment or a second, an ominous kind of like murmur for just the briefest of moment that seems to come from the dark forest. And you can tell this land is very uncivilized. Like the place they have found is something old and ancient and rediscovered, and is not like, the what you're used to, which is on the Sword Coast. Even though there's a lot of dangerous areas in between all the towns on the Sword Coast, that still feels like civilized lands and areas that you've been to. You get this feeling of just raw savagery and just raw unknown out there, coming from the dark forest that is about a half mile out that you can see. The other thing that stands out to you, this being the first time that you're in this area, are the enormous mountain ranges that rise up and dominate the horizon to the very north. There's a mountain range that runs due north, and the peaks from kind of where you guys are at is mostly sea level or 50 or 60 feet up. these peaks are rising thousands of feet up into the air, above where the sea level is. And when you look to the south, you also see an enormous, dark, brooding kind of impassable kind of like mountain range. And these are like jagged mountain peaks. So these are definitely like inhospitable. They do not look friendly. They are capped with snow at the top. They're so high, and very jagged. And they run along the north and they run along the south.
Okay. So the foreboding aspect, is that kind of like, in the heart of darkness when they first go into the jungle? Or are we talking like more extraplanar paladin-y sense?
What you're feeling like is the land itself is judging you. Like, and you don't know why you feel that. You don't think you've ever felt that anywhere else. You've never had this same kind of feeling before, but it's as if it's a living creature on its own, and its eyes are staring at you, like predator-like eyes are staring at you, but it's just a forest.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So you catch up with the other group and you notice that you are now walking with, and maybe we'll have the other two give physical descriptions. Rock, go ahead and start us off, who's probably up in the... Oh, no, Eingar was up in front. So you see a dwarf who's moved a little bit up, but go ahead and give us a physical description, Eingar, of your character.
Eingar is a short dwarf, short and wide like dwarves are. He's got reddish hair with brown streaks in it, beard. He's wearing scale mail. You see a battle axe and a battle hammer, and a war hammer sit on his belt right now, and he's carrying a light crossbow. And he's checking the ground, looking around. Kind of looks like he knows what he's looking for. You guys walk up, and he'll turn around and say, "Hello, stranger."
Hi there. It's sort of unusual to see a dwarf that doesn't seem just comfortable in the open, but actively knows what he's doing in the open. But well met.
Thank you. I'm Eingar, by the way.
And I'm Tristan.
Nice to meet you.
And then you'll see the half orc that's standing there impatiently. So go ahead and give us a physical description of Rock.
Rock is absolutely huge, and I'm sure covered in nothing but soot, and just wearing his battle kilt and a great axe strapped across his back. And he's just going to give you a nod, as he has seen many adventurers come in after he's arrived. And clearly you're not a villain, so he's okay with you.
Yeah, that works. I will nod back cautiously.
All right. So as you're standing there and you've kind of met each other a little bit more, Alberex, you feel the land, like over this time you have been spending here, you've slowly becoming accustomed to the land, but it's also been, the land has been becoming accustomed to you. And how far along did you get in your druid grove?
That's kind of up to you, but I had planted those seeds that I had brought from Limbo, and I had been spending time there and trying to use my magics to help cultivate it. And I, as a shepherd druid, I have the speak with animals, so really just spending a lot of time and energy and befriending the animals and getting to know them, so they're used to me coming and going in that area, and encouraging them to stay around there and kind of bolster that place with energy.
Okay. So you're picking up the faintest of, it's more of an unformed idea from some of the grove itself, or some of the saplings and the things that have been growing, though it's not a full grown grove at this point, but you get the kind of unfinished thought of intruders. And then from the small animals, you're recognizing that they're moving or acting in fear at the moment. So it's very quiet. A lot of the smaller animals are hiding. They're very wary. And it's not you guys. It was even before you guys had kind of walked out here in the area. Oh, you're muted.
Where is my grove in relation to where we're headed?
That's up to you where you decided you wanted to put the grove.
Well, I'm just trying to get an idea of like, so does this fledgling grove kind of give me that more of a connection with the land and
Yeah.
what you're just?
It's starting to grow stronger, and you're starting to be able to read it more. And the nature that was here is starting to accept you more than it did.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, so you're feeling that. Eingar, you're keeping your eyes out, and you notice you think you see something. It's probably about 200 yards out from the north wall, and it looks like it's maybe a big log or a big fallen over tree that's laying out in the tall grass area, and it kind of stands out to you as it's something that you hadn't seen out there before.
Does it look like it's carved on? Maybe
the tall grass is too tall. It just looks like it's a big, almost like a tree that's fallen over, maybe, or definitely a big log of some sort.
Hey guys, there's a big log up here. This is supposed to be a totem, so that's usually something like a log. Maybe somebody shoved this thing over. Let's go up here and check it out. And I'll move forward of the group.
Don't alligators look a lot like logs?
They do.
Be careful,
Yeah.
it might be an alligator.
I'll look out for alligator.
Hey, Dan, when we get within about 60 feet of it, I'm going to use that divine sense that paladins have to see if anything seems otherworldly or weird.
So one cool thing you can do too from your character sheet, if it's listed there, if you click the words, I think it'll put it in chat, so that way that anybody wants to read how it works, they'll also see it, and I think it'll tell me the different types, because I think you can see undead. I'm forgetting all the types that you can see.
Celestials,
Percent.
fiends, undead. Celestial, fiends, and undead. Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much that's it.
Yeah.
60 feet, as long as they're up behind total cover. I'll have to figure out how to add that to the sheet, because I don't think I did
Well, I
that
can help
yet.
you with that between sessions too. So we'll get your character sheet all set up for you. Okay, cool. So yeah, you guys get within 60 feet, and you notice that again, you're probably a couple hundred yards north of the walls. So you're still within, you can still see it. You're definitely quite a ways yet till you get to the forest edge. You're still quite a ways from where even the rock quarry would be. And yeah, so we see the paladin Tristan pause as you guys kind of take another few steps, and he kind of gathers himself, and you kind of direct your senses as you can, but you don't sense any of those type of entities in the area.
Okay.
All right. So you kind of move a little bit closer, and yeah, you do see something that you thought you probably should have seen anytime you guys would have left and headed north out of town. Like when you go to the couple of expeditions where you went to on the way to the old monastery, you definitely should have been able to see this thing standing in the air, because when you get up to it, it's like about probably about a 40-foot totem that it looks like there's a hole that's been dug, and because it was dug in a certain way, the totem fell over due to something digging near it as you come up upon it.
Are there any obvious footprints or trails or tracks?
You can certainly do a survival check to see what you can find. Ooh,
I'd like to
good
help
roll.
him if I may.
I'd like to also.
All right, so if you help him out, then go ahead and roll a second time, Tom. This will be as advantage. So 19's good, but let's see if you get any better. Okay, so the 19 will stand. So you're kind of both looking around. We have Albrix is looking. Eingar is looking, and we also have Tristan's looking. And the tracks you see are definitely some booted feet of regular size. They seem like, a regular person size boots has come up, and then it looks like has dug this hole or dug enough around this thing so that it fell over.
Can we set it back up?
Well, you're looking at it and you're trying to figure out how you might do that with the four of you. And as you kind of look at it, go ahead and give me a perception check. Anybody that's looking at the totem itself. Oh yeah, you guys are killing it on rolls tonight. Good.
Yeah, I don't. Something's going on in the ocean.
All right.
I'm keeping an eye on the surroundings.
Yeah. Okay. So Eingar definitely recognizes that there does not appear to be any damage to the totem. Like, it doesn't look like anybody tried to hack it. It doesn't look like there's any marks on it that shouldn't be there. But it is carved in a bear at the bottom, and there's a wolf at the top. And then there's other animals that are linked in, and other symbols and other ancient kind of carvings. Not stuff you've noticed or recognized before. But it looks like all they did was to undermine it with those two good perception checks. Is they just tried to clear the ground enough that the totem would fall over on its own.
So these tracks, you say they're clearly like booted humanoid feet?
Booted feet, normal humanoid size, definitely wearing boots. You can tell they are boots. And it's only one set. Just one person had walked up.
All right.
I've got a miner's pick and a shovel. I want to start prepping the ground so we can hook a rope to this and pull it back up.
Yep, kind of like an obelisk.
Yeah, and then fill in.
Okay.
What prevent them from doing it again?
Yeah, that would be the tricky
Rock
point.
will struggle out.
Now, you could have Alberix do the sending back to Balthazar and ask him what he thinks after we discover what's up.
Breaker 1-9, this is Alberix out on Coastline 27. We got a totem on its side.
All right, so you wait just a few moments, and you can feel that the stone itself kind of vibrates, and then when you hold it up to your ear, you hear a message back, and he says, you hear it say, "The totem has fallen over. Is it damaged?" And then there's like another few seconds while we're waiting, and
the totem is not damaged, but a lone person has come and unearthed its base.
All right, and then you kind of wait for a few seconds, and you probably wait a little bit longer. You're starting to almost think, is he getting the message? Is it coming back? You're almost thinking about sending a second message just to check in. And then he comes back and says, "Can you place the totem back in the exact spot it stood?"
Aye, we can.
Then there's a long pause as the messages go by. And then he says, you hear from the stone again, "Set the totem. Once it is back in place, the ward should realign." You don't know what he means by that. And then he says, "I will do the rest. I will take care of the rest after that."
Hey, check and see if it's supposed to face a certain direction.
Does it matter which way it faces?
He says the wolf should be looking at the town.
Did you put this here?
And as you guys are doing that, you see what looks to be like a large kind of white owl streak by over where you guys are.
So Harry Potter lives here?
Do we hear the voice of Balthazar say that?
No, it's only the person holding the stone hears it.
Okay.
What was the last question that you asked?
I was joking about the.
Oh,
Harry
no,
Potter.
but I think, Sasha, you asked one question before I interrupted you.
No, that was something that
Okay.
Albirix would never know.
Gotcha.
So, Albirix, as he hears the last message, we must take the totem and place it so that the wolf looks upon the city. It's undamaged, so we should be able to do so.
Rock will eyeball Tristan, then just walk up to the top of the totem and kind of motion to him. I think we can.
Yeah, we probably have the strength for it, I'd imagine. So, yep, I'll give the half orc a hand.
Well, you're both
As-
are 20s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. All right. So
Nice
yeah,
level.
let's have this cool moment of two behemothly strong, supernaturally strong people kind of get a good grip, and they're kind of both on each side. Let's do a strength. No, let's do athletics or acrobatics, whichever one you want to use. Roll. It's not, this is a roll just to see how well you do it and how long it takes you, not that if you can or can't. You're obviously going to raise it up. You guys have the strength to walk it up. But let's see how graceful and how well this goes. Yeah, 15 and 22. So you can see this heave, and you can just see the muscle ripple, the veins pop out. It is very heavy. It is enormous. Not something that normally two people could move. In fact, I think when it was set originally, it was 5 people and an animal raised it. Not that any of you guys would know that, but yeah, when it originally got set. And so you kind of see it, and then like Rock kind of gives Tristan a nod as he holds it, and Tristan moves a little bit lower on the totem, and then he heaves, and then Rock moves to below him and then heaves, and it begins to just slowly rise up. And it looks like it's rising up in the right position. It looks like it just fell straight back down and it didn't move. And it just rises, and they get it to a spot where it's now standing and looking at Port Bastion. But it's not obviously going to stand on its own at the moment.
So as they're doing that, Albirix, his shoulders will hunch in a strange contortion as coarse black hairs will start to push through his skin, and he's forced down on all fours, and his spine bends at a weird angle, and he starts to transform into a giant.
Awesome. Giant badger. Cool. Go ahead, Eingar.
And
Eingar is going to start shoveling dirt in to at least get it stabilized. When we get the dirt up to about 2 feet below the normal ground level, I'm going to find rocks to put a layer of rocks in, and then more dirt, and then rocks like paving on top of it to make it more difficult to dig away again.
Okay. Yeah, so the combination of the Rock and Tristan holding it in place, and then the giant badger who's able to move heaps of dirt where you need it, and you're able to bring over, different stones and rocks that you're finding around the field, and you're putting them in here. You get to the point where you've got it leveled off again, and maybe even humped up a little bit, and it now can stand on its own as it stares. And you guys hear, almost like your ears, the pressure changes in the area. And for the first time, you feel that normal pressure that you've become accustomed to, that you felt anytime that you were near Port Bastion. You guys would always feel this as if you moved in and out of a pressure bubble almost as you would leave Port Bastion. It was something that just it happened to you so many times that you just got used to it. And you just now realize that it's been gone. Like you didn't even realize it had been gone, and that pressure was there. And for Tristan, this is the first time you feel like you've got to like move your jaw a couple of times, like something's wrong with your ears for a moment, and almost we see like a little, almost like a heat mirage that just kind of moves across in a dome-like fashion over Port Bastion. But before that happens, we hear a sound of like probably like a call or a yell, almost like a horn sound. And as you look to the direct north of where you were at, you see 4 big dark shapes moving at high speed from the forest heading towards you. 2 legs, hunched over, moving fast. And they're probably 600, 700 feet out, but they're just dark shapes moving quickly at high speed towards you.
So they're 3 rounds out, 4 rounds out.
At the pace they're moving, yeah, you feel like they're going to be here in just probably 20 seconds, 30 seconds away.
Okay. When they
So
get
I'll
about,
be able to get at least.
Yep,
I'll be
go
able to
ahead.
get at least 1 shot off at the crossbow.
I'm gonna cast Bless for the other party members.
Cool. What does this look like? First time we get to see you cast. Go ahead and describe what it looks like.
Yep. Apparently I didn't type it in right. So Bless is, you haven't probably seen my holy symbol yet, but I will produce my holy symbol, which looks conveniently like an eagle. And I murmur a few things that don't make sense to anyone that they understand it, except for the, blessed are those that help support the weak and yada yada. And then the 3 of you have this feeling that if you had to make a saving throw or an attack roll, you have a D4 you can add to it. So,
Excellent.
There you
So
go. I put it in for you.
thanks.
So I'm still in badger form.
They are definitely about there's gonna be about 3 rounds of running. They're moving at high speed, 2 legs, big brutish things. And by the time they get, I mean, at this point you can try to peer out them and you recognize them. Rock, Albrix, and Eingar. They're beastmen that you recognize from the monastery charging out from the forest. Tristan, you've not seen these creatures before. They're big. Like, what comes to mind at first is Minotaur, but they're not like any Minotaur you've heard of or seen.
Okay.
So, Lucian, I would like to. I'm still in big badger form. I want to dig a trench in front of us as much as I can, and then kick the earth back up to us to kind of dig an entrenchment with a bit of a bulwark on our side.
All right. Well, you guys can see the totem. You can see the map. To the north of you, they are coming. So go ahead and you can... let's go ahead and do... everybody select your token. So you just click on your token, and then on your character sheet, hit initiative, and that'll put you in the turn order.
It's nice perspective on the totem there.
That is pretty sweet, dude. Did you make that?
No, I find everything on the internet.
Well, nice job with your search food.
Yeah.
Just want to point out that with my 3, I'm just patient.
Yes.
Yeah, it just means you're going first in the second round.
Yeah, right.
All right. Let me get a couple of these guys. And let's do ascending or descending. There we go. Oh, Tristan. Good job. Eingar, what is your dexterity?
13.
Okay, you will go before them.
So, Lucian, I have a question.
Yeah.
Was I able to do the digging business beforehand, or was it apparent to me that wasn't gonna?
Well, here's what's going to happen now. So there's 2 rounds before they even make it to the map, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go Eingar, we're going to run through it like these are 2 surprise rounds almost. And then on the 3rd round, they hit the map right where they are. And then they'll move during their 3rd round from that spot. So let's go through this. First round, first person that gets to move is Eingar. So they are at this point 80, 160 plus whatever they are from where you're at now. So let me measure that. Oh. Let me zoom out so I can actually do it. So 160 plus 75. So they are 145 feet away from you. What do you want to do?
Light crossbow is 8320, so they're in my long range.
So if they're in long range, you could take a disadvantage shot if you would like.
I'll do that.
Okay. Yep. Fire away at disadvantage. So a 10, we see the crossbow bolt streak out but misses. Bonus action or movement?
I'm gonna stay right here. Or no, I'll move up next to the totem.
Okay. Next up would be Rock, but before I jumped over Tristan. Sorry, Tristan. You would have got to react as you see the crossbow bolt being fired from the crossbow. What would you like to do? They are.
Oh, I get the die 4.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So it'd be a 12.
Yep, 12 miss. And you put the bless on all of them or on yourself and 2 of them?
All of them.
Okay, I'll put a mark on them.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out how to use the D20 or roll 20 spell stuff a little bit. I don't think I set it up right.
No problem.
But the let's see. So how far away did you say they were? They're a long ways away. Never mind.
So from the map edge, there's still another 160 feet from that map edge. So add 160 feet plus from you to where that edge is how far out they are.
Okay. I'm just gonna move so I'm more towards the center of the party, I guess.
Okay.
So that way, if I have to use my defensive skills, I can do that.
All right. Anything else for Tristan?
I don't have anything that can reach them.
Okay, Rock, you are up. You see these creatures bounding towards you guys. What would you like to do?
He will unlimber his great axe off his back and just stride forward and patiently wait. He will not be out of rage when they attack, but just so you know, that's going to be his first action when they get within strike.
Okay. Now, Alberex, your turn. Badger form.
Yeah.
What would you like to do?
So I want to dig up and pile a bunch of earth right in front of us.
Okay. So.
Can I do it right here?
Yeah, let's have you roll a 1d8 for me. This will just simulate how. Okay, so you're trying to dig into the ground, and it's pretty rough ground, and things are happening quickly. So you get 1 5-foot square. So you can choose just draw on using the freehand draw one of the squares. You get it piled up kind of like 4 or 5 feet tall for 5 feet in that round. It's harder than you thought it was going to be. All right. Anything else for you?
Nope.
All right. Tristan, they are now 80 feet off of the map edge. What would you like to do? Top of the round.
I should be able to throw a javelin in that it's a disadvantage at that range, though, right? I think they're 30, 120.
So let's measure it out. So we gotta, let's see. So from you, so they would be 70 plus 80 away, because they're not quite at that map. They're 80 feet past the map edge at the moment. So 80 plus 70 is 50. So they're 150 feet from you. So what is your maximum distance on a javelin? Let's look it up. Javelin is 30 by 120. So they are 30 feet out of maximum range. You could move forward and maybe throw it. Did I lose you?
Sorry, I gotta remember to hit the button. I'm just gonna move up so I stay spaced in the party, but
Okay.
That's probably what I'll do when they get closer.
Okay.
And, like, now, does it seem like that they're going to in between, like later in this round when they go? Like, can I hold an action and throw if they get close enough?
Yeah, you could say I hold my action if they get within this distance and throw. So you can choose a distance if you want.
Sure. Well, let's go for 30 feet then.
So if they make it to within 30 feet, you'll throw your javelin at them. Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right. That brings us to Eingar. You're up. Oh, you guys are muted, I think.
I'll take a shot at this guy on the right.
Okay, so at this point, they are only... let's look. So 65 plus 80 is 145 out. So still disadvantage for you? 13.
Still disadvantage.
Let's
I've got
look. There's a
13.
13. So you see it hit the hide of the creature, but then the crossbow bolt kind of bounces off. It doesn't get a good solid hit on him. Doesn't look like it damaged him. Anything else for you?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. Rock. They're about 150 feet away.
Just out of curiosity, did you use your bless?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so you maneuver.
I'll step up to the trench edge, hold on to that great axe in my left hand, and ready a javelin in my right, seeing what Tristan's about. I'll do the same thing.
Okay, so are you ready in action, or?
I'm ready in that throw.
Okay, and so what's the trigger? When are you going to throw?
30 feet.
So if they get within 30 feet, you'll throw. Okay. Albrix, to finish out the round, are you going to dig more?
Yeah, man, I would like to.
Give me a 1d8 roll. All right, you get 3 more squares.
All right.
All right, so at the top of the round, they make it to the map edge during their turns. Oh, that's not what I wanted. So they are actually on the edge of the map. They're charging ahead 80 feet. They're doing their dash, basically, to use double their movement, and they get to that spot. But we've hit our time for tonight, which is 11 o'clock. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and wait until next Monday to see how this finishes out as these beastmen charge down at our quickly fortifying party members. As we and these things, now that they're this close, they're within 70 feet at this point. They're easily 6'4" to 6'6". They definitely are probably in the 250 to 300 pound range. They have these enormous bodies of very well muscled and short brownish fur, and each one of them have some type of kind of bovine like head, not necessarily like a minotaur head, but more like the different types of other types of, like, a, not necessarily deer, but like elk, or definitely kind of like gives this beast man kind of
So,
feel to
kudu?
them.
Yeah, kudu.
Yeah, there you go. But they are definitely not something. The other guys have ran into these, but these are something unique to this land. It's not something you've seen in the Sword Coast area.
Okay, cool.
All right, so that's where we will end tonight. When we pick up next week, Monday, we'll be right into the battle. We will see how this goes, and then we will see as Port Bastion begins to put back together, and we start to solve the mystery of what's happened to the totem, how come the dragons attacked, and what is going on in this land of Revonar. I can't wait, because you guys are doing an awesome job. It's been super fun. So we'll see. Is everybody going to be able to play next Monday? Let's transition over.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So we'll definitely be playing next Monday. And what I want to do next Monday is I will be streaming this live. This is recording. So those of you that are watching on YouTube, thanks for watching. And you'll be able to finish out the story next week, 8:30 p.m. Come by the show live. We're going to stream it live as we're playing. You can be in chat and root us on, or cheer us on, or help us with the rules and that kind of thing. 8:30 p.m. on my channel, twitch.tv/SirLucien. Can't wait to see everybody. Everybody wave bye. We'll see everybody on Monday.
Bye-bye.
Bye.